So, welcome back to episode 73 of the Jumping Through Hoops podcast. And today I am joined by Paul Moody, who is an entrepreneur and you're a mindset coach, aren't you now? You're kind of a wellness coach for personal development.
Personal development and business performance coach. So an entrepreneur, personal development and business performance coach.
So I've known you a little while and we kind of got talking through, I think, just similar kind of, I don't know, how did we actually get talking?
Well, I think we just operate in the same space. And obviously we know each other from social and from the gym. And I think I sort of approached you because I asked you some questions about how you did some of the things that you do. So I was intrigued on how you especially manage social media, I think. And so that's how it came across.
And then it turns out we're kind of both coaches, mentors. We've both had different businesses and kind of connected that way, I suppose. So you've got quite an interesting story in your journey. Yeah, you have. And obviously I'm going to let you talk a little bit about how you started your journey of business, personal development, however many years ago, was it 20 years ago?
Personal development wasn't 20 years ago. I wish it was, but no, personal development was around about possibly between 8 and 10 years ago. I'm not quite sure when it first started. And it sort of took a little bit, started to snowball as I sort of understood it a little bit more. My business journey started in 2001.
2001, okay. So what was your first business and how did you come to be a business owner?
Okay, so I think it all started prior to that, really. I sort of left school with not any clear direction. So I was very much into sport. And so I started to work in leisure centres, but also my main job at the time was as a carpenter. So I went through what they call the YTS scheme at that point, and I went to learn how to do carpentry. I wasn't very good at it, wasn't very interested in it. And so it was something that I ended up doing because it was almost an expectation to have a trade back then. Okay. After a couple of years, I left there and I went to work in sports centres and started to work in the leisure industry. But then, fast forward about 5 or 6 years, I'd then gone to work in Magaluf. I'd worked for removal companies. I'd worked in shops. I literally couldn't settle. I just worked in every single area that I could, knowing that I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I actually, I kept on thinking, I need to be in control of my own journey. So it was doing lots of things that I knew that I didn't want to, made me sort of realize I wanted to do my own business. I then came back from Magaluf, went clubbing. One of my friends, he said to me, look, we're short tomorrow. Do you want to come and do, or not tomorrow? I would never have made it tomorrow at that time, had it been tomorrow. I think he said he's short on Monday, needs some help on the lorries. Do you want to come and help do some removals? So I went and did some removals. And basically I stayed working with this company for quite a long time. The guy that ran the company, Tim, he was, and still is, an old school entrepreneur, really good bloke, but has got lots of fingers in lots of pies. Okay. So I was quite intrigued to see how he operated, and I thought, actually, this is what I want to do. Not in his space, but I just wanted to find something that I could do. And then through going out, you know, in the scene back in like late 1990s, Portsmouth was flooded with lots of entrepreneurs, and again they sort of inspired me to do my own journey, if you like. So it was at that point that I sort of grabbed the most easiest opportunity for me with my skill set. So that was I worked for asset managers, and it was cleaning properties, carrying out garden maintenances, making sure any of these properties that were what they called void properties, that the water systems were drained down and the locks were chained and secure. So these are all skills that I was capable of doing, but there was a lot of work doing this. So I built my business up in that way.
And so then you kind of scaled that, and you still got that business today, or how has that evolved and changed?
Yeah, it's evolved. It's the same business. It has had a name change on the way through to reflect the change in what we do. So yeah, so at the beginning it was just myself, sole trader, knew how to deliver the product, but didn't know at all the bolt-on accountancies, marketing, sales, didn't know any of that. So I was a yes man. So somebody asked me, can I do something? Yes, yes. So I thought I was being entrepreneurial. I wasn't setting myself on the road to complete to burn out at an early stage. So it started, you know, lots of 12-hour days, then coming back and doing things like invoicing. Most entrepreneurs or people that started with limited knowledge will probably understand that. And then over the years, took on my first part-time employee, somebody in the office, then maybe grew it to about 5 or 6 people. And then it all changed for me around about 2006. And there was a life event that created a need to change the direction of how I was able to run my business. And that was basically me and my wife at the time. We had our daughter, and daughter came out of hospital, my wife came out of hospital, and then quite quickly we found out that my wife had septicemia. My wife worked for me as well, or we worked together at the time. And so I wasn't on my own. I had family to help me, but then my wife was in hospital, so there was quite a lot of, you know, my energy was there, but I was trying to run a business at the same time, trying to be present for my daughter, and we coped through it. But it made me realise that actually I haven't got, at that moment in time, I did not have the skills that I needed. I didn't have the support network I needed either to actually grow and continue the business should anything else like this ever happen.
Yeah. It's funny how those things make you realize, and unfortunately things like that sometimes have to happen to people to actually be able to implement the change, don't they?
Of course, yeah.
When you're a business owner, like, how can this business run without me?
Yeah.
And I guess that was the turning point for you then, was it, where you kind of
I mean, I was quite a creative, but I was also a micromanager as well. And you could call it control freak, whatever, but it was only because I was managing with only the knowledge that I knew that I had. So I had fear because I didn't want to lose what I built up. I also had this, nobody can do it better than I can. Yeah, which again is something that probably happens to men in their early 30s, you know, the ego as well. Okay, so it's learning to let go. So my natural thing is I thought I needed business partners. Okay, and so that's where the business then started to evolve a little bit more.
Right. Okay. And to today, how does it now look?
Okay, so totally changed the client base. Okay, we went away from working with asset managers. We changed the product completely. We became a B2B provider of maintenance services to commercial and residential. We were, prior to the change, traveling all the way to London, Plymouth, Hastings to carry out work. And we had 20, at one stage, I think it was around about 20 people, 15 vehicles on the road. Okay, just going up and down, up and down. The guys that were working for us had burnout. Okay, they retired before they even got to the job, because if you can imagine, if you're driving to Plymouth and you're driving to Hastings, it just didn't make any sense. Nobody was happy. I wasn't happy. The guys weren't happy. We were making money, but you realise that that wasn't the way. So we sat back and we thought, right, okay, we've got to change what we do. We've got to change ourselves, first of all, and we've got to change our clients. So we thought, right, okay, as you can see, you look at Portsdown Hill here, you can have a look at Portsmouth. We said there's loads of chimney pots in the local area. So first of all, let's change our focus on the area and let's change our client base. So we went from just being lots, cleaning, etc., to providing maintenance services for, as I say, commercial, residential, and the size of jobs that we were doing. It could be anything from going in to change a tap to refurbishing an office block. Okay, it didn't take long for us to be able to change the focus and grow that way, because what that allowed us to do was actually employ more specialised people, because we actually had specialised areas that needed a certain skill base. So number one, we were employing people in and around the area. So, okay, they still had to be out the door for 7:30, but they were at the place of work that they needed to start at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So there's no burnout then. They were leaving there at 4 o'clock and getting home at 4:30. So these people were still being able to spend time with their family. So naturally, that allowed us to also have time to spend with our family and grow our business and think a little bit more strategically.
Yeah, and I guess when you've got a happier team that are working more effectively, then the business is going to naturally grow it. I mean, you rely on that team, don't you?
Yeah, and I 100%. But I also think that there's another thing as well, because when they're happier, then you're prepared to push and grow again. Because when the morale is down, you don't want to grow anything that's going to become even more of a burden upon you. But now you're thinking, well, actually, we're really capable now of rinse and repeat, bringing new people in, because by the time we've got the processes and the systems in place, and have made those changes, you just think, well, you can do more of this. So we don't necessarily have to grow the area, or we didn't have to grow the area, but there's plenty more clients of a similar type that we haven't touched. Yeah. So we can go down that route. Yeah.
Amazing. It sounds like you've done really well, and you've obviously had to pivot, learn lots of lessons along the way, adapt and sort of change course a little bit. But when you say you kind of went down the route of personal development, 8 to 10 years ago, was there something, do you think that was related to business and being an entrepreneur that kind of shifted you into that? Because I think for a lot of business owners, they don't tend to know probably what personal development is when they first go into setting up a business, and because you have to learn all these lessons along the way, you naturally get pushed onto this path of sort of personal spiritual development through being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and having to kind of learn all these lessons very quickly. I'd say almost like a hyperspeed sometimes. So yeah, where did your journey there sort of start, and how did you kind of get into that?
Well, I think first of all, back in 2001, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't things like that. So there wasn't podcasts or anything. So it would have been totally reliant on reading, and I didn't read. So I didn't even have time to do any sort of personal development stuff. So I wasn't going to get into it at that stage. I didn't hang around people that were in personal development. I didn't have anyone to inspire me in that way. What got me into personal development was my own destructive behaviors. There were things from my childhood that came up. I was quite destructive in my own behaviors. My relationship broke up, and then I sort of found myself at this crossroads. I'm going to carry on doing this and being half happy, or I need to look at finding something. Again, a bit like starting business, I didn't know what I was looking at finding either. It was, again, I remember, I think I was laying in bed one evening, couldn't sleep very well. I was on YouTube, and Tony Robbins just came up. And I just listened to this guy, and I just thought, he makes a bit of sense, actually. So then I listened to some more and listened to some more. So to be honest, my first year or so of personal development was nothing more than just listening to people on YouTube. But actually, it made more and more sense. It helped me change some of my behaviors. My habits became better. And then then I sort of started to look for mentors and coaches, and more importantly, thought, right, actually, there are things that I'm doing that are not supporting my life.
Yeah.
So got rid of those and some of the people that were not supporting my life as well at the same time.
Yeah. And I guess it's sort of, you start to have more awareness, don't you? And I think when you're so busy being busy, especially as a business owner, like you often don't have time to stop and look at habits and behaviors, and we're often acting just from our conscious mind and not really delving into that subconscious, which obviously personal development gives you that insight into your subconscious and those patterns, habits, behaviors.
Of course.
And I guess you probably agree that everything's kind of interlinked, isn't it, with your business, your life?
Yeah.
And talk to me a little bit about how you sort of went on this wellness path as well.
Yeah, well, I think that goes back to really when I was young. Sport was my passion. Okay. And actually, when I left school, I was back to playing football, and then through not looking after myself very well, got to about 28, 29, and I had to give up playing football. So though I always ran, okay, I thought that was me being fit. I didn't eat well. Like I said, I wasn't a huge drinker, but in comparison to others, but way too much for myself, you know. And then there were some other habits as well that didn't help. And so it was, again, listening to sort of wellbeing experts, etc., and realizing that actual your personal performance, what you put inside your body, how you move yourself, how you sleep, how long you sleep for, how many coffees that you have, what you say to yourself. Okay, all of these things are really relevant to how you turn up. And so it was implementing these not all in one go. I got very structured with my training again, structured with my nutrition, and in time, I've taken on a coach, a performance coach for my training. I've had somebody help me with my nutrition. Okay, I've had a business coach. I still have a business coach. I still have somebody that helps me with my training as well, because I need somebody else to keep me accountable as well. And it's that, and it gives me the energy now. So I've got the energy to deal with everything that comes my way. It's good and bad.
It's like that inner does really create the outer, doesn't it? It's like everything inside, as I say, I think is so interlinked, like from the physical, sort of what you put in your body and what you sort of feed your mind as well. And again, you know, sort of talking about who you might sort of hang around with and what you're picking up on different energies and things like that from people. But yeah, I mean, so you're saying you went on this personal development journey, and obviously through listening to the likes of Tony Robbins on YouTube, and that's now taken you on the trajectory of becoming a coach, mentor as well.
So there's myself and three other business partners now. We've got Mark, Joel, and Nick. We formed a company called Synergy Success Network, or Mark had formed this company prior. And Mark had been helping construction industry, sole traders, small businesses develop. Mark actually was my labourer back in 2003 or 4, something like that. And so he came in and he was one of the labourers, and he was a real like inspirational character, right, rogue, but had energy. And he's been through a very similar business journey, but you'd call it a serial entrepreneur. He's got quite a large construction business in Portsmouth, and he owns leisure organisations. Me and him have some properties together, but he's probably got 2 other businesses now by the time we've been sat here and spoke. You know, that's the way he is. Joel's quite recently come out of the Navy, and he's a Marine as a PT. He's now forms part of our offerings, and he also owns and manages a gym. And so what we're doing is we are supporting sole traders and trade businesses, because there was a real gap. If I'd had the support that we're able to give, then the journey from 2001 to 2006, 2007 would not have been so difficult. And look, I think when it comes to coaching and mentoring, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a place ready to help people when they want it. But tradespeople, we often get sort of dealt quite a rough hand. People don't like us anyway at the beginning. Yeah, okay. You know, but as time evolves, there's some real talented business owners. People have really grown their businesses hugely, from the time when Mark started to where they are now, but also in the time that I've been with them already. There's some massive changes, both in business and personal performance. And there's a real community being built, and it's only going to grow stronger and stronger.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And, you know, I'm not an expert in that field, but I certainly haven't heard of many offerings like you have for tradespeople.
Yeah.
So could you give us some examples of maybe like some success stories of people that have come into your mentorship?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you names at this moment because I've not told anybody, but there's a story of a guy in there that I think he came to Mark at around about £300,000 turnover. He's close to 8 million now.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one there. There's another guy came in as a painter and decorator, sole trader. His business is now around about 2.5 million. Okay. There's even guys that I've sort of worked with, like we started our latest project course together in January. They've gone from taking on new people to even taking on new premises, new contracts, and just being more confident. There's guys that have been able to sort of like have had their last drink on New Year's Day. Wow. And they haven't drunk since. Okay. Yeah, there are guys that, like in November when we actually first started, hadn't done any exercise for ages. Tomorrow we're all going to Borden and we're doing a 9-mile sort of Tough Mudder event. Yeah, and these are guys are joining us. So it's not cold. It's a case of everyone can come and join it. But
it's a community that you've built.
It's a community, and I think it's really massively important that people realise it's not just there for business. It's there because, like, one of the reasons I'm so passionate and wanting to help people is because business can be a blessing or a curse. Yeah, if you don't know how to handle it, it can be a curse, and it can take you down a real crappy road. And you can forget that there's other real things in your life. You know, you've got family, girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, whatever. Okay, you've got your health. Okay, and if you take your eye off it, and you've got your children, and all of a sudden your children are 17 or 18, and you've not looked up, and you've missed their growing up period. Yeah. When do you want that wake up call? Do you want that wake up call when you can't do anything about it, or when you've had your, a stress attack, or you've lost serious amounts of money, you've lost your home, or your relationship's broken up? Or do you want it when you start to feel that you need that help? Yeah. And that's the time to that's what I say to people is, now don't wait till it's too late. Now that's naturally what most of us, I'm not saying it's never too late to start, but had I had help differently, or realized I need help differently, then I think, not that my life is at all bad at this moment in time, but it's there's definitely people that have been in my life that I wish would still be in my life, and there's people that I'm quite glad that I'm not.
Yeah, and I guess though you are the evidence for these people of how you've made time for yourself now. You're kind of not burning out anymore. You've got time for your training at the gym and your wellness, and like you say, you've got this amazing business that you're working on, mentoring people, and I guess you're showing people how they can shortcut the time to, as you say, with the lessons.
There's things that you can do as a business owner that you can, we call them, I think, £10, £100 and £1,000 tasks. So, you know, all of the small tasks, your administration stuff, you can give them to, you can take somebody else to do them. Your £100 tasks, these are the things like your sales and your marketing, you can give them to somebody else to do. But actually, your £1,000 task is performance, your own. You can't outsource your own well-being. So you've got to look after that, number one, because then that gives you the creativity and the energy to be able to pull your team together and to inspire and lead. Without that, then people are going to just looking up at somebody that's burnt out, who's not able to step up when they're needed. What it does do, you know, because I have got several businesses, that doesn't always work in business partnerships unless everybody's on the same journey. You know, that's the downside of it. But
then I guess you could say that that's all lessons that you're learning that can kind of then take you forwards with the next step on whatever your journey is.
Of course,
so talking about lessons, actually, what would you say on your whole journey so far of entrepreneurship and personal development are your 3 top lessons that you would recommend or just sort of give to anyone to listen to now on how they can, you know, do this journey and how, you know, can implement certain things?
Okay, so I think one of them is how you do anything is how you do everything. Okay, so you've got to create some standards and some values. Okay, and you've got to work with them. Okay, I think that's really, really important. So try and turn up as the same person at home as in business. Okay. And hold yourself to those values. Step away from people pleasing. And saying yes to everything. Learn to say no is a real strong skill that it took me a long time to understand. But that's valuable, I think. So that would be number one. Definitely your own well-being. There is, I think they say on the airplanes, you've got to put your oxygen mask on yourself first. Okay, and that's the truth. You have to be. I feel that you have to be selfishly unselfish or unselfishly selfish. I can't remember what it is, but you've got to put yourself first, because if you haven't got that energy to deal with and to help and support, then you're no good to anybody. And if you're going to take on and become a business owner, you have that responsibility to be that person. So you have to put yourself there. Whether people need you or want you is another question, but I think that's that's important. And the third one, make time for what else is important. Don't make it all about business. Enjoy it, have some fun. Because you can really get caught up. I think you know, partnerships outside of you need to be present with them. So again, by building up your business and having people be able to do the small tasks and take things away from you, because if you've got family or relationships that are important to you, then you want to be present with them and don't let business filter into them. Because I mean, we've all done it. You go on holiday and, you know, the phone carries on ringing and you're going away on a weekend away and you're meant to be present, but you're dealing with problems. It's inevitable. It's going to happen on your journey, but how quick can we get you out of that from it not happening with regularity?
I love that. It's kind of like how your time is just so valuable, isn't it? And it's, I guess we go into business to almost create more time for ourselves and give ourselves that freedom. And the opposite does end up happening sometimes with people. And it's like, right, if that's happening, like, what can you do to switch that up? And obviously you've talked about outsourcing and lots of other things there. So amazing. And do you have a favorite quote? I like to ask this sometimes.
Do I have a favorite quote? Okay. Yeah, I probably do, but you've got to stick it.
Anything.
Yes, I have actually. And again, I probably will this up a little bit. And again, it's a Tony Robbins one.
Yeah.
And it's most people underestimate what they can do in a year, underestimate what they can do or
In a lifetime.
in 10 years
Or,
or a
yeah,
lifetime.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically we get really impatient
Mm.
quickly. Okay, and we start to think, I should have done that yet. But from when I look back, I think that's so true, is you do get there. But when you think, you just got to give yourself that little bit more time. And when you're doing the small things right, day in, day out, you suddenly look back and you think, wow,
Yeah.
I made huge strides.
It's those consistent habits, isn't it, that you build daily,
Yeah,
that, and you don't think it's happening, but you, as you say, look back and you see the seed that you planted however long ago is now this big tree.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, obviously we're going to wrap this up in a sec, but I'm going to share on the show notes where people can find links to your social media profiles and also how they could work with you as well. But is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up today's episode?
No, thank you for making it so nice and easy to do it. And yeah, like we're there for any trade person, trade business that wants support in their journey, whether it is just one-off sort of catch up, see what we can help unearth, whether it's long-term support, whether it's things like bookkeeping, accountancy, marketing, sales, first aid. We can do that as well. We have got those support services, or whether it's a case of you want to come on one of our programs and we help you build your business. I mean, you build the business. We just support you making the right decisions.
Yeah.
But we're there, and so yeah, anybody that needs it, but they have to want it and be committed to it, because we can't help people that think that it's just about turning up.
That's it. Yeah, ultimately they have to get the results for themselves, but you're there to be that guide and
just to be the guide and the support
and accountability.
Yeah. We won't tell people what to do. We'll sort of gently show them where to do, but ultimately it's your business, and you don't want your business to be my thoughts. You want your business to be, what we can create from experiences of mine and experiences of others as well. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's absolutely fantastic what you're doing, and it's evidently needed. And, I wish you all the success in the future with it. Thank you. And thank you for your time today. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.